All right, so welcome to another deep dive.
Always exciting.
Yeah, today we're diving into AI and what it might mean, for all of us, really.
For society.
Yeah, exactly. And we're using this interview with OpenAI's CEO from the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a really interesting interview.
I can imagine he's a really smart guy.
Yeah, super smart. And he has some pretty interesting things to say about, where we're headed with all this.
I bet.
Yeah. So we're going to look at a few things, like how AI is just kind of this unstoppable force now.
Right.
And the way it's changing the job market, which is kind of a surprise in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. How so?
Well, we'll get into that. And even, this crazy idea of AI running the government.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So first up, the CEO kind of frames this whole AI thing as just the next chapter in this long story of technology. It goes all the way back to agriculture.
Like the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the first farmers to now,
To AI.
Yeah.
I like that perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool way to think about it. It's not just this sudden thing, It's been building for a long time.
Right, right. So it's like one continuous revolution almost.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about that, how does that change your view of progress?
Yeah.
Are we on this runaway train, or is it more just this slow and steady kind of thing?
Right. Is it an evolution? I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us right into the whole job thing, which is really, I think, where a lot of people are kind of freaked out, right?
For sure. Yeah.
But it's funny because remember how everybody was saying oh, the robots are going to take all the, the blue collar jobs for.
Right. The truck drivers and the factory workers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it turns out that's not really happening as fast as we thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually the creative stuff like coding and writing that AI is really good at right now.
Huh. That's so interesting. So why is that? Why the twist? Why is it good at those things first?
Well, it turns out making robots that can actually move around and do stuff in the real world is way harder than we thought.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Think about all the little things a truck driver has to do. Just to stay on the road. It's super complicated for a machine to figure that out.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, but AI is really good at patterns and data.
Okay.
So if you give it a ton of code or text, it can make new stuff that's actually pretty impressive.
So that's why it's better at the creative stuff for now.
Yeah, exactly.
That is fascinating.
I know, kind of makes you think, right? But, full disclosure, it makes me a little nervous too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens to, writers when AI can write a blog post in 5 minutes?
Right.
Or, what about those blue-collar jobs? Will they eventually just, disappear?
Yeah, are we just delaying the inevitable?
Exactly.
That's a great question.
So, the CEO talks about a couple of things. He mentions this thing called Universal Basic Income, UBI.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so everybody gets a paycheck, basically, whether they work or not.
Right.
But even he's that's not really a solution. It's more like a Band-Aid.
Right, a temporary fix.
Yeah.
So what does he actually propose?
Well, he thinks we need to actually share ownership of AI.
What? Everybody owns a piece of it.
Yeah. Almost like owning stock.
Wow.
So you could, sell your share or team up with other people or even use it to fund your own projects.
Interesting. Okay.
But even more than that, this ownership would come with voting rights.
Oh, I see. So you have a say in how it's used.
Exactly. So instead of just getting a little bit of money from UBI, you'd actually have a voice in how this whole AI thing works.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes even further.
Oh, no.
He talks about an AI government.
An AI government.
Yeah, no more politicians, just pure data and algorithms making all the decisions.
Hold on, is he serious?
Well, he does say that, the way things are now is, as he puts it, super broken.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
So, maybe it's not that crazy to at least think about some other option.
Okay, but seriously, AI president, I don't know about that.
I know, right? But think about it, what if we had a leader who could actually process all the information before making a decision?
I mean, that would be nice.
Right. But like, do you think the technology is even close to being ready for that?
I don't know. And what about like checks and balances? You can't just let an algorithm run wild, right?
Right. And he definitely agrees with that. He says we need to be super careful and like really think about safeguards before we go handing over the keys to the country to a computer.
Okay, good. That's reassuring.
Yeah. And that actually leads us to another pretty wild concept, AGI.
AGI.
Yeah, artificial general intelligence. So like this is the ultimate goal of AI, right?
Okay.
Where it becomes like
Sentient.
Yeah, like self-aware, maybe even smarter than humans.
Whoa, okay. Now we're getting into like sci-fi territory.
I know, right? But he talks about this thing called takeoff speed.
Takeoff speed.
Yeah, so it's basically how fast AI could improve itself once it hits a certain level.
Oh, I see. So like AI designing even smarter AI and so on.
Exactly. And some people think that could lead to this like explosion of intelligence, like AI just like zooms, passes in like no time.
Wow, that is a little scary, to be honest.
I know, right? But the CEO, he's actually more optimistic. He thinks it'll be a slower process, which would give us more time to like adapt and figure out all those, safety measures we were just talking about.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. But I think we all need a minute to like digest all this before we go any further.
Agreed. There's a lot to unpack here.
For sure. We'll be right back to explore more of this whole AI revolution and what it could mean for, all of us. When you think about AI and like all these possible futures, it's hard not to think about other times when we've had these huge technological like leaps forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially ones that had like, really big consequences.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because the CEO, he actually compares AI to the development of nuclear weapons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he says both have this like immense power, to do good or bad.
Right.
And just like with nukes, he thinks like global cooperation and regulation are going to be key, like absolutely essential.
So are we at like a similar crossroads with AI as we were with nuclear weapons? That's a pretty I don't know. That's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it is a bit sobering, right? But I think the analogy is really interesting. Although there are some key differences to keep in mind too.
Okay. Yeah, like what?
Well, for one, nuclear technology was mostly controlled by like governments and the military.
Right.
But AI development is happening like everywhere, You've got private companies, universities, even like people in their basements working on this stuff.
Right. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So that makes it way harder to regulate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even begin to like get all those different players on the same page and make sure, everybody's following the rules?
That's a good question. And it kind of brings us back to this idea of AI governance,
Mm-hmm.
Like the CEO keeps talking about shared ownership and decision making.
Right.
What do you think about that? Like, is that even realistic?
Well, I think it gets at a really fundamental issue with all of this. Like, who benefits from AI? Who controls it?
Right.
And who gets to decide how it shapes our future?
Right.
It's not hard to imagine a scenario where like just a tiny group of people, they control all the most powerful AI and everybody else is left behind.
Yeah, kind of like a digital divide on steroids or something.
Exactly.
So this shared ownership model, this idea that everybody has a piece of the pie, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's almost like a way to democratize the technology.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. It's about giving everybody a voice, a stake in how this all unfolds.
Right. And that makes me think about another piece of this, like education.
Oh yeah.
Like how do we prepare people not just to use AI effectively, but to actually understand it, like its potential, the risks, how to make good decisions about how it's developed and governed.
Mm-hmm. Right, because this isn't just about learning how to use the latest AI app or whatever.
Yeah.
It's about like rethinking our whole relationship with technology.
Yeah. It's a pretty big shift. I mean, we're talking about a massive societal shift, aren't we?
Absolutely. This is not just like a tech upgrade. It's about fundamentally changing the way we work, the way we learn, maybe even like what it means to be human.
Wow. Okay. And speaking of work, like the CEO even suggested that our whole concept of work might change.
Oh, interesting.
Like what happens when AI can do a lot of the jobs that we, do today?
Right.
Does that mean like mass unemployment?
Mm-hmm.
Or could it be an opportunity to like redefine what it means to have a fulfilling life?
Yeah.
What if we could, get rid of all those boring, repetitive jobs?
Yeah.
And spend our time doing things that we're passionate about, being creative, contributing in new ways.
Okay. Yeah, I like that vision a lot, Bob.
Right. But let's be real, like there's still a ton of uncertainty here. How do we navigate all of this? How do we make sure AI is used ethically? How do we make sure it benefits everybody, not just a small group of people? That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, the $1 million question, maybe even the $1 trillion question.
Right.
And there are no easy answers, but the CEO really stresses transparency and accountability, you know, and making sure that everybody has a seat at the table as we develop this technology. He says it's not just about like getting the technology right, it's about getting the governance structures right too.
Right. So we need to have like ways for people to speak up, to share their concerns, to have a say in how it's used.
Exactly.
And we need to like hold the people in power accountable for the choices they make.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is some deep stuff. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about all the implications.
Yeah, it really is.
But it's also super important, right? This isn't just some like abstract tech talk. This is about like the future of our world.
Exactly. And it's not just for, the politicians and the tech people to figure out. This is about all of us.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has a role to play in shaping this future.
Yeah.
So the question is, what will you do? Will you just sit back and watch it happen, or will you step up and help shape this revolution?
That's a great point. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with that question. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're creating right now through the choices we make. What role will you play? It's easy to get caught up in all the scary stuff around AI.
Yeah, the doomsday scenarios.
Right. Robots taking over and all that.
Yeah, right.
But the CEO we've been talking about, he's actually pretty optimistic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he sees AI as a tool that can help us solve some of our like biggest problems.
Okay, yeah. Like what kind of problems?
Well, like imagine AI speeding up scientific discoveries.
Right.
Leading to breakthroughs in like medicine or clean energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Right. Or like personalized education, like tailored to how you learn best.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Or even like AI helping us understand, climate change and what to do about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to see the potential here.
Right. But even with all that, we still have to figure out the whole governance thing.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Like,
yeah.
How do we make sure AI is like aligned with human values and that it's used to benefit everyone, not just, a few people?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just about, preventing some robot uprising.
Right.
It's about making sure that AI is developed responsibly with safeguards in place to prevent things from going wrong.
Yeah. We have to think about who's creating AI, how it's used, and how we hold those people accountable.
Right, because like this stuff is powerful.
It is. It's like he used this analogy of a superintelligence button.
A superintelligence button.
Yeah, like imagine a button that if you pressed it, it would instantly create this like super intelligent AI.
Oh, wow.
Right, way smarter than us.
Yeah.
And he argues that we're basically building that button like piece by piece with every advancement in AI.
Oh, I see.
So it's not a question of if we'll have super intelligent AI, but when.
Right.
And how we'll deal with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful image. Kind of scary, but also, exciting.
Yeah, for sure. But it really drives home the point that, this isn't just some like sci-fi fantasy. This is happening now.
Right.
And the choices we make today, they're going to have a huge impact on what happens next.
And those choices, they're not just for the tech experts or the politicians to make. This is where we all come in. We all need to like learn about the stuff, think about it critically, demand transparency from the people developing AI, and advocate for, policies that ensure it's used ethically and for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
We're at this incredible moment, right, at the very beginning of this AI revolution.
It really feels that way.
It does.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you going to just watch it happen? Or are you going to be a part of shaping it?
It's a powerful question.
It is. The power and the responsibility, it's really in our hands.
And that's a good note to end on, I think. Something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for joining us, everyone. And keep exploring, keep learning, keep asking those tough questions. Because the future, it's up to all of us.